Hello and welcome back to the graveyard. I will be your graveyard wizard, Edward. Today we're filling a frame. I'm using real life watercolor paper. I've already taken the glass out of the frame and measured how big it needs to be. I got big sheets of Arches 300 or 130 or 140 pound watercolor paper, and we're just gonna let that be rip. I was listening to country music today at work and I feel so twangy all of a sudden. So I started with some sketching. I was looking at a few different references, kind of trying to figure out what I wanted this vibe to be. This rose is definitely close to it. I really liked how this rose turned out. This is counting towards pages used to finish this sketchbook, so I believe after this there will be 12 pages to go. I really like this top one. I think is the one I end up going with. It's a little more rowdy. That one in the middle is fun, but it just feels a little safe. There's something about the one on the top where there's a lot of petals going on, a lot of things overlapping. I just really liked it. Had a good flow, so I figured, why not? You may be able to see it. I had something drawn on here previously, and I didn't like how it turned out, so I figured I'd bring it home and make a little video about it. I'm just doubling over my sketch from my sketchbook onto the paper. I'm just doing it all freehand. Sometimes if I really like a design, I will draw it up in Procreate and then I'll print it off and then I'll use a light table and basically trace that design back over. That way I can just like really customize, like I can make little adjustments. But I figured with this one, the whole vibe of this channel so far has been just like real attainable things. I'm not trying to use digital tips and tricks too much because I still feel very new to it. I've been using it for about 3 years and I still feel like I'm learning a lot. So something like good old pen and paper, you know. Sometimes you just got to figure out what feels right and move things around and just be okay erasing things. That's a big thing that I've learned. It's all right to change things a little bit. I ended up using one to do a rough little outline, and then I use a 10 to outline it. I do grab I think it's a 0.5, but it didn't work, so I only ended up using the 1 and the 10. One of the techniques I use, techniques, I don't know what you'd call them, is I'll use a really thin micron to line my drawing before I watercolor, so there's kind of a ghost line there. I'm not going too hard, I'm not trying to go in for much detail, just kind of getting the shapes in, and then I come back and I'll reline it with something more substantial, usually at least a size or two up. But this one, I think most of the stuff that I outline I end up doing with a much thicker line, but I do come back with this 0.1. I've been really enjoying the 0.1. I never was a thin micron boy before, but this one really, I don't know, there's just something about with this drawing, it felt scratchy and good, and I don't know, it has that kind of loose mark making feel that I've been looking for, and I've just maybe never gave it a good chance. So who knows, there might be some more drawings coming up with the 0.01 micron. It's a whole new world. I'd played around quite a bit with different colors to use in this painting. I'd looked at a few different color references. What I was going for was this kind of muted burnt orange feel with this kind of bluish leaves, blue and orange leaves. And man, I was so far off. The rose ended up looking relatively red. It's got this kind of dusty red, and the leaves also have this kind of, what would you call it? Almost like an aqua green or something like that. Phthalo green, perhaps. The colors aren't bad. It's just not what I had initially set out to do. I haven't done a ton of color mixing with these watercolors. I usually use the colors kind of straight out of the bottle. I'm using Dr. P.H. Martin watercolor. Got all those drawn lines erased. I like using, this is not just a drink. This is too late in the day. If I drink coffee too late, I won't be able to go to bed. But I do like using coffee to do my underpaintings for my watercolors. And this actually ended up, it looks really light, but it dries this really beautiful color. So I would recommend, if you get a chance, coffee is a nice underlayer for painting. Nice little painting. And that's maybe why my colors didn't turn out quite how I had imagined, because I did end up putting them over top of this orange, you know, kind of orangish brown. So that always is going to change your colors a little bit. I usually start by doing my gray wash. So this is a little bit of watered down black. If someone's really curious, I could tell you what color numbers these all are for the P.H. Martin. I think this is the A14 black. Some nerd stuff. The color correction on my camera also, at times it looks like that coffee looks even darker. But do not fret, it's not quite as dark as it looks. But even so, it's a really nice, I like it, kind of creates this rowdy, kind of old weathered feel, but it also creates this, it's not just on straight white paper, which, don't get me wrong, I love a good straight white paper, but sometimes you gotta put something under it. With this technique, I am using one brush that has the watercolor on it. I kind of lay it where I want it, especially with these more saturated color, kind of like this black. And then I use a brush that's just wet, just to kind of rub it out. And that's the nice thing about nice watercolor paper, is you can move the colors around a lot more. Some colors seem to kind of stick to the paper a little more, but for the most part, a good watercolor paper, you're going to be able to move colors around for a little bit after you put them down. So you can see I'm kind of brushing that edge, and then I'm kind of pulling the color back. I ended up drawing up so many petals, I had a lot of shading to do. The shading's not too rowdy, but you know, you don't want it to be too dark, and you don't want it to be totally, there to be like no shading at all. So it's always a fine line, I feel like, and I'm kind of walking back and forth. I think this one, it worked out well. I don't feel like it's undershaded. I feel like I maybe could have gone a little bit darker in some spots, but that's how she goes. That's how physical medium goes. Nothing that it's, you know, I'm not sad about it. I think I just There's always every piece is a learning moment. You know, that's how I don't want to come off like I'm hyper critical. I've definitely been that before in my work, and thought things weren't good enough. And it's not necessarily that. I'm trying to go about everything and kind of see how I could have done something different in a good way. It's not, I'm not trying to dog on myself. I think I like being able to be like, ooh, that turned out really nice, and I can't wait to do it again because I want to try doing it just a little bit different, or just a little bit this way or that. I mean, I really, if I had the time and energy and could really do everything I wanted to, I'd probably do multiple different versions of every painting that I've done, just because it's like, oh, what if I came in and made this orange just a little more this way or that. You can kind of see as this color dries, it looks a little more red. It looks orange when I put it down, and then it dries a lot deeper. That kind of happened with both of these colors, and I'm not 100% sure if it was just the way I mixed them, but both of these colors ended up drying darker than how I had originally intended them to be. So maybe that's just how P.H. Martin colors are when you mix them, but that was a fun little surprise that they both ended up being so dark. And I remember very early on when I was starting to flirt with the idea of getting into watercolor. I remember someone was like, go light, start lighter than you think, and you can always work darker. And I still haven't, the first lesson I got, I still haven't quite done it. But hey man, that's learning. That's how art, she's a fickle mistress sometimes. And I can just watch this. For some reason, paint going down, I could watch it all the time. I find it incredibly entrancing. Even in I've edited this video and I've seen this painting a ton, and I just am still always like, man, I could just sit and watch this. There's something that just draws you in about watching it all go down and kind of seeing the little brush strokes and all that. I don't want to sound egotistical or anything, but I think I just love the medium, This little end of the rose too is this kind of wild little nub in there that I wasn't exactly sure how to do it. That's usually how I end it, in some sort of little nubbin or make it look like it's kind of broken off. But I really like this color too. I think this is a really lovely kind of orangish yellow. Kind of adds a little bit of pop of brightness, but it doesn't feel too demanding of attention. This is the outline. This is that 10 liner. Man, I didn't even know Micron made a 10 liner until like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know how I was totally oblivious to that, but here it is. It works great. I love a nice thick line too, so. The way this one ended up turning out, it has a really vintage kind of feel to it, and I really am entranced with how it turned out. I can't put my finger exactly on what era I feel like it is. It's not quite that naturalist sketchbook kind of feel, but it has something in that family of like, man, it seems like it could just be like maybe it's out of the 70s. Maybe it has that kind of 70s color palette. I really can't quite put my finger on it, but it feels vintage in a way that I do really enjoy. I always like when things feel maybe a little older than they really are. It's kind of the fun to make an art, is you kind of get to conjure a lot of different kind of vibes and feelings. I mean, whether it's realism or abstract, you're kind of reaching for a feeling that sometimes is unexplainable. Don't notice those bottom 2 leaves. I went back and lined them, okay? It was bothering me. Literally, I noticed it when I was editing the video and I had to go back and it almost kept me up one night. I was like, I gotta go fix those leaves. So then I cut out there. You can kind of see that there's 2 lighter lines. So that first darker line that I'm cutting on, that's the line of the size of the glass. So I know it's gonna fit in my frame. That second smaller line is kind of my parameters on the edge, because the frame has a bit of a lip where the glass sits on, so you're not going to be able to, if you push things too far out to the edge, it's going to look really cramped in the frame. And these also are like staples, and these are kind of miserable, but I always try to check my frames when I get them from thrift stores to make sure that the backing isn't too rowdy. This one ended up working pretty alright, I'd say. I'll have to figure out how I'm going to hang it. Probably just run a little bit of wire string across the back. Hang it from a nail. It isn't too heavy. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Another fun watercolor. I really enjoyed doing these. I'm probably going to keep doing something like this. Next few are probably going to be out of my sketchbook, but this one was a fun one. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye.